her up in the corner. So there's more room for me. Hello! Ladies and gentlemen, let me move my microphone so it's closer to me. Welcome to the Pinfall podcast, better known as the podcast you watch so you don't have to watch Smackdown. I'm your host today, Elizabeth, and I'm joined by my host today, Mark.
I'm the host?
My co-host today is also a host. He might have the most.
Oh.
Oh, I probably should do that thing that I never do, right? Where I make my window super small, and then I go boop, boop, boop. Ooh, and then I close out of one link, so I can open up a 14th link.
Oh my god, you're super laggy right now. Why couldn't you do this before?
Because I've got 14 links open. Because I didn't think about it. Not even for a second did I think about this.
Liz never thinks about opening the chat before.
I never do. I'm sorry, guys.
And then she never even looks at the chat.
I look. I don't have my glasses on. Some of us don't have contacts. We aren't like endowed like you are, where you're like, no, I've got contacts and I can see everything.
You could just put it on your phone.
That's what I feel like.
Put it on your phone.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna be looking at my phone the whole time. Respect.
Now that we've delayed the podcast a little bit, would you like to start us off?
Oh my god, let's cry about it. Oh, on tonight's episode of Smackdown. Oh. Dang it. I'm Liz yelling. Let me pop out the chat. Hello, Milam. Let me close that window. And okay. I had to mute my entire computer because suddenly I had the Twitch feed coming through. And it was very loud. I am very loud tonight, apparently. I did not mean to do that. So, happy Smackdown Day. Happy Smackdown Day. I hope you had a fun time. I didn't.
I did. I had a good time tonight. I thought it was fun.
I had mostly a bad time tonight.
Liz only has a good time if there's like Seth Rollins stuff, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton. So really only Raw Liz has fun.
Not true. There's some fun sometimes on SmackDown. Occasionally.
Ever since Jeff Hardy's come back, Liz has not had fun on SmackDown at all.
Yeah, that's fair. No, there was some fun stuff tonight. I will admit to that much. I will, however, not admit to tonight being entirely worth anybody's time.
I enjoyed how little retribution there was and how they kind of got rid of it right off the bat, or got it over with right off the bat. But also, Michael Cole said something that kind of damned them all with that story.
And we'll get into that. I think that's like literally my first note of tonight too, actually. Yeah. Will we ever find out who Retribution actually is? Probably not. Anywho's once. Should we just jump into the news, or do you want to banter some more?
I'd prefer to jump into the news.
Okay. Okay. News. Got news and nope, still bad. It's better. Okay. We have news tonight, but we also have rumors.
Some of the rumors apply to tonight, I think, but
one of the rumors sort of applies to tonight, but there was enough to that rumor that we can still talk about it. So, first rumor. Goldberg might be returning. I wouldn't be shocked by that, considering the fact that he had his beef with Roman Reigns on Twitter, or whatever it was. And basically he was just like saying that like he's a super strong guy, even though he's like 50 some odd years old, and be happy to come back, and that's fine. I'm excited. I would love that. Happy to see another Goldberg return. I want to see him spear somebody 3 times.
I want to see him actually have that match with Roman Reigns. 2 spears coming at each other.
Oh, that might result in a head injury. I feel like they would wait to bring somebody like him back though until they can have like real ass crowds.
Yeah, I think that might be his like stipulation to coming back. There's got to be crowds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because the quote you read, Mark gave me all of my rumors for tonight. My news is different though. Quote you read made it kind of sound like he just wanted to fight somebody. It did not sound like he cared how or when, per se. But
Roman Reigns, or not Roman Reigns, Randy Orton.
Oh yeah, which I could see it happening. And judging by Randy's track record as of late, I don't know if it'd be great for Goldberg.
Maybe he's gonna show up at SummerSlam as a surprise
Payback.
guest, because SummerSlam's whole thing is you'll never see it coming.
Is the it Goldberg?
Yeah. Well, maybe. Who knows?
All right. I'll take it. I would take it. It's funny because I feel like a lot of the like best kept secrets, like with WWE, we genuinely do not know about until it actually happens. Like I always feel like I'm on top of stuff when like I'm looking at line drive. Best kept secrets. I always like feel like an update that's like, oh, we have news that this big superstar is coming back, and I'm like, whoa. And I read, I'm like, yeah, well, that makes sense because they've been tweeting about it incessantly for the past 5 days. And then things like tonight happen where somebody comes back and you're just like, really? Kept that under wraps. But that leads us into our next rumor. Speaking of under wraps. So Eric Rowan did an interview recently. As many might remember, Eric Rowan's whole shtick for a bit was carrying around a cage covered with a cloth of some sort. I used to know the word for it. Tweed, maybe, I think is the word. Carrying a cage with a cloth over it. And the cloth ended up obscuring a spider, which Drew McIntyre later stomped upon. Eric Rowan discussed some ideas that he had for a while, since they took so long to reveal what was actually in the cage, of what he wanted to have in that cage. The 2 ideas that were listed during this interview, or in the article that I read, so I did not listen to the whole interview, was either he wanted it to be a rat, that's a small, fuzzy animal, and Drew would look bad stomping on a rat over a spider, or much better than a small rat, small lady. I guess he wanted to have a world famous little person, I think is what we're calling her. That's the word. She's apparently a very popular actress. You told me this, so you may know better than I do. I guess she's a very popular actress.
She's the world's
was an American Horror
smallest
Story.
woman.
Yeah, and he wanted to have her in the cage because then it would be like Eric Rowan was protecting her from the evils of the world. And I thought about it, and I said, I don't know if that would read right on camera, Eric.
I keep this woman in a cage.
Just judging by the WWE's history of how they've treated little people, I don't know about that one. So for once in my life, I'm kind of glad that the WWE went with the angle that they went with, as opposed to literally anything else that was on the table. So that was Mark read that article to me, and I had to sit back for a couple minutes and just vibe. And then the next rumor is Jeff Hardy's future on SmackDown, and more so, I think, on WWE. As we all know, Matt Hardy is on AEW right now, so I'm sure that they would be more than happy to take Jeff in addition. But it seems that they are pushing him for a title that will be discussed later on in the podcast, if you have not already guessed what it is, but judging by Mark's beautiful meme of the evening.
Yeah.
But they are pushing him for a title match, it seems, in order to keep him on SmackDown, because his contract is coming to a close soon. So maybe there will come a time in the near future where we don't have to listen to Jeff Hardy talk about everything he's been talking about lately.
More like we won't have to see WWE abusing his alcoholism.
To be fair, Jeff Hardy comes out every night and says all the stuff he says. So,
and that script is written by WWE.
I think that like a Jeff Hardy type character would be able. Oh Jesus, it's 10-3 now for the Yankees. You would think that he would be able to be like, because he's like kind of tenured at this point. You think he'd be able to be like, I don't want to do that. That feels weird. And frankly, I think that it was a bad idea that they did in the first place, because now I feel like he's pigeonholed.
Yeah. But I feel like you only have that kind of leniency if you show some kind of confidence on the mic, and I feel like Jeff Hardy doesn't have that. He doesn't have that that confidence that Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton have.
And frankly, not that Drew suffered from alcoholism, as far as we know. But he also had personal struggles, especially like ones that were especially public in WWE. He just talks about them so well in a way that does not make me go absolutely out of my head. And maybe it's because I'm attracted to him and I'm not attracted to Jeff Hardy. But also as a writer, I feel like maybe I can see through that kind of stuff. And I don't really think that's just because Drew McIntyre's hot, that like it makes it that much more interesting to listen to him. Yeah.
I mean, I think we can just chalk that up to him being a good performer and being able to adapt on the fly to whatever Randy says.
Gemini. And then for news, Adam Cole was asked whether or not he wanted to go to the main roster anytime soon, I think, more or less. And he has not ruled out moving up to Raw or SmackDown, but he also did say that he's not interested in doing it anytime soon.
He's not in a rush.
Yeah, which makes sense because he's doing really well with Undisputed Era at this point. So,
yeah,
I don't see a big reason for him to jump away anytime soon. I think that just kind of goes to prove the point because people were spreading rumors about him actually leaving NXT soon. I think that just kind of goes to disprove that as a whole. And judging by Bayley's comments about NXT versus the main roster, because Bayley basically said that like they were kind of allowed to do whatever they want, more or less. I feel like in a weird way, if you're more into like the creative aspect of wrestling, maybe being on NXT is better for you.
Mm-hmm.
Drew wants to fight John Cena. It's not really like any big piece of news. I just found that.
I feel like you said that a while ago.
I think he says it like once a month now. And every month they're just like, John's still in the swamp. We can't bring him back right now. I'm sorry. Yeah. No. It was just something I found. I thought I wanted to talk about it. And Johnny Gargano almost died, apparently. He had a match with Ridge Holland, and I guess he took a bump that was so bad that Triple H and Shawn Michaels came running down to the ring, and then they had to retape the entire thing. Which, frankly, if the move gets botched so bad, like your two bosses have to run down to the ring to make sure that you're not, I don't know, dead. Maybe restarting the match isn't like ideal. I feel like that's just gotta be really taxing on your body.
I mean, I guess it all depends on how Johnny felt, because he ended up like apologizing for the delay and everything. So I have a feeling it wasn't
like,
that serious.
I mean, to be fair, if even on like a smaller level, like sometimes like if like I experience this a lot. If I overextend my shoulder, I'll get a pain that makes me feel like, oh my god, I cannot move this for like the rest of my life. And that's a very small thing, but it's basically just I tweaked a muscle wrong. I feel like that just kind of goes to like say like injuries, even if they're not that bad, can like still bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hoping that like he's actually okay. It wasn't just like, hey guys, I'm here to party too. We're fine, you know.
But now it'll be a game on Wednesday to see where that bump happens.
We won't know because they retaped the match.
Did they retape the whole thing? Because I read that they just finished it after he was fine.
Oh. I mean, I read an article that said that they retaped it, but it also could have been the wording. So I assume that if we do see the bump, then it'll probably happen and we'll cut to commercial. Because I imagine if it's bad enough, Johnny's like laying there.
And I doubt WWE would want to waste an opportunity to see a wrestler get injured.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. So weirdly enough, this does coincide with something else I need to talk about. So we are going to have virtual fans at SummerSlam. And in addition to that, SummerSlam is going to be filmed at the Amway Center in somewhere in Florida, pretty much right on top, I think, of the Performance Center. With that said, so they're, it seems, moving all of their productions besides NXT to the Amway Center after August 21st. Now, I want you to have like a very quick flashback of every single time we read an article, or I reported an article, or literally any time that you saw they went into a taping with no script, okay? I want you to flash back through all of that. I want everyone to flash back through all of that. Because after August 21st, every episode is going to be live. Like, actually live. No more tapings.
That, you know, I have a feeling there's a caveat to that. It might still be taped like it has been even before the pandemic, but it might be done as if there's an audience, like that kind of live. Because there's still, for legal reasons, why they need to tape it. But they could still be doing like the whole string out of fights and promos and everything, just as if it was, you know, in front of a crowd.
I mean, from the article I read, they were talking about how everything has been taped as of lately. And how from now on, after August 21st, because they will be moving everything to the Amway Center, after that, it is all live, 100%. Not like joking around. Sorry, I'm looking for something. There we go. So it doesn't really seem to me like they're screwing with us or like using fancy words, you know?
But live to us might be different from live to the wrestlers. Live to the wrestlers might, and every part of the crew might mean, okay, we're doing the whole event right now. Because tapings might have been like, screw up a promo or a move, we can cut, go back, and do it again. They probably won't do that.
Yeah, promos won't be live.
Well, yeah.
I don't think promos will be live.
But
wrestling. Like, I mean, you can read the article I read. It said that everything will be live, and as in everything will be live.
But the same kind of live that WWE's been going off of for years, in which it's all
pay-per-views are filmed live.
Pay-per-views are you think pay-per-views are done live? It's WWE live, as in it's all done in a straight segment of time, and then it's broadcasted later.
Okay, I mean,
because there's like live for a crowd, and then there's live for the audience.
Sure, and I'm sure that they made a point to distinguish the live from a crowd versus live from an audience kind of thing for the sake of an article, because that doesn't make any sense. If you're still filming it in a way that's not live to the to the viewer, then why would you say that everything's going to be live? That just doesn't feel
to keep up that illusion. But they need
it makes sense.
They need to do it. They need to pre-record it days before, so that they can bleep stuff if they need to, so that they can deal with any kind of stuff that might ruin a broadcast legally.
And one of my last things I wanted to talk about tonight, so we don't go over our time with this too long, is Velveteen Dream returned, and apparently everyone's very mad about that, understandably so, because Velveteen Dream sucks. And apparently, although the WWE says that they take these things very seriously, nobody ever reached out to a second accuser to kind of get a statement or...
I mean, even the first accuser, they weren't reached out to.
Okay, so they didn't reach out to either of their accusers, and didn't talk about him returning at all whatsoever. So, feels a little shady, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, I don't really think that they did any real investigative work into anything pertaining to the speaking out movement, if you will, considering while it was happening, Matt Riddle was going for a title. So, who's to say? Who's really to say at this point? So yeah, I think we should just jump into matches and promos, because that's about all I got to discuss at this hour. All right, let's get that changed.
Oh, and I just want to say, next week, a week from today, we'll be doing our predictions for SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver 30.
Yes, and
both in one day.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll find out what's happening with Payback, because I don't actually know if we ever will. I don't even know if anyone involved in Payback is going to find out about what's happening at Payback. Until the day. At this point, apparently there is absolutely no script written for Payback. Nobody knows what's happening at that show. There was a very brief promo tonight about it from Bayley and Sasha. I don't think that they even know what's happening. So, anywho, into the matches and promos. So we started off with a very long recap of Retribution, doing Retribution-y things. I'm still not convinced that CM Punk is one of them, because none of them look like CM Punk. But then Michael Cole did make a reference, which really just kind of shot everything to hell, implying that there is 100% a tie between Retribution and protesters, as that basically anybody lives in a state with a major city might have heard about. you know, people were tired of cops killing innocent people. So that's apparently, we were kind of joking about it, I think, at first, because it felt like a little too on the nose. And good old Coleslaw had to come through and say, yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
He specifically said, he said something about modern, or people taking from modern day events and using it as an excuse to cause violence. Specifically talking about retribution. So
I ask for so little from SmackDown. I really do. My expectations are about like this big at this point, and somehow they managed to give me this much. They give me negative of what I ask for. It's amazing. So, started off sort of with Big E versus John Morrison, which is kind of funny to me because Big E, in spite of the fact that he is now going on the singles run, still fighting men from the tag team. I'm sure that we will not see him fighting anybody of the likes of like Sheamus or Corbin or anyone like that anytime soon.
I don't know. He had, as we'll talk about next, he had like a little face-off with Sheamus. I have a feeling that might be coming soon.
I don't know, because like Sheamus seems so busy with like literally being angry at everyone. I just don't know. But we'll get to it. I've got other things to say about Sheamus too. Anyways, so Big E starts out by wrapping his shirt around Corey Graves' face, and I think that was a public service to all of us because I cannot stand that man. I swear to God, every day I have to see him is another day I stray further from God's light. And just as he's about to fight John Morrison, members of Retribution come out. There's many more of them this time than there was last time. And they attack Morrison and Big E, and Corey Graves and Michael Cole run. Scattered to the hill, and that was about it. that was Retribution's big entrance into this evening. And then the Miz comes out to make sure that John Morrison is okay, and I respect that. I love friendship. And then that leads us into, I guess, a promo, sort of, with all the lads from SmackDown backstage. They're all sad because Retribution has come to their performance center again for their filming, for their taping, and Lucha House Party is comforting Big E, and Miz is there for Morrison, and you got Drew Gulak and Chad and all those folks. And then Corbin comes out and says, "Hey guys, I'm your leader in this troubling time. We should kick these guys out." And Big E gives a lovely little speech to Corbin. Pairs Retribution to the Foot Clan from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then there's a rousing speech, and it's all ruined when Sheamus, his whatever the goddamn hell he is wearing, comes out. It
was a nice coat.
If I have to see this man dressed like an 1860s brawler one more time, I'm gonna have a fit. And I don't know who okayed this. It's like he's changed his gimmick slightly to the point where it's like it doesn't need to be okayed by like a storyboard team or whatever. But also, that coat, that hat, the all of it. If I saw a man walk into a bar wearing that, there would be another bar fight happening, except it'd be me versus Sheamus this time. It'd probably just be me saying very mean things to him. You know.
Yeah.
I know you love his outfit.
It's alright. Better than the spandex and bare chest.
I'd much rather see his pasty bare chest than whatever is happening up here now. It's so much better. It is pure, crystalline clear Sheamus. The necklace. I think that's all we can ask for. Because now we've got whatever the goddamn hell he is. To further the aggravation, we then step into the Triple Brand Battle Royale, which they kept calling a Battle Royal, and my mouth can't form those things. I have to say Battle Royale. It sounds weird otherwise. Which had significantly more people than I think we expected it to. Because you made your predictions earlier on, and we got most of those people, actually. We did get most of the people that you mentioned.
I predicted it would be like 2 from each brand. I said it would be from NXT, we'd get Io and Dakota Kai. From Raw, we would get Shayna and Bianca, which we did get. And from SmackDown, we would get Sonya and I think I said Lacey. Lacey was there, but not Sonya.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Sonya wasn't there for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a lot more people than I think we expected to. We got... Try to make a concise list here. We got Ruby and Liv. We got the Iconics. We got Dana Brooke. We got Nikki Cross. Bianca Belair. Shayna Baszler. Tegan Nox. Shotzi. And Tamina. I don't know if I've already said this, but Lacey Evans. And Naomi. And specifically left this out. We got Asuka.
Yeah.
Maybe
I was gonna say I agree with Mylum that the Battle Royale was very disappointing.
It was. I don't know. There's only been so many times that I've this is the first time in a long, long, long time that I've watched wrestling regularly. So maybe I'm foggy still. But there were a lot of things that just kind of seemed they wouldn't fly at a men's battle royale. Which I've seen 2 of now.
I think we could just chalk it up to inconsistent rules. Like we had Nikki Cross out of the ring, but she was still in, and then we had Dana Brooke who spent 90% of the time out of the ring and then just jumped in at the last second.
Right. So, first of all, it's important to know. Sasha and Bayley first came out because they were going to do ring announcing, and they chased Greg Hamilton away. But they also announced that they're defending their tag titles at Payback. We don't know against who. I can only guess at this point. It is almost definitely the Iconics. If it's not the Iconics, I'll be shocked.
What if it's Liv and Ruby?
I don't know. I feel like the only preeminent tag team as of late has been the Iconics. Liv and Ruby can't even decide if they like each other at this point.
I mean, after that incident on the last Raw, Liv basically like said she felt really bad for it on social media, and kind of acted as if Ruby was one of her best friends now.
All right, well, maybe it's a possibility, but I guess then that means that there's two options basically.
Unless
but,
I was just gonna say, unless Lana's wrestling now, and we have Natalya and Lana.
Wouldn't they be more distracted with Mickie James at this point? Because that's what they seem to be gearing them up for.
I mean, yeah, probably.
But as they're talking, as they're ring announcing, rather, Asuka comes out. I said, it's funny. Asuka's fighting Sasha at SummerSlam. Ruby gets out first at the hands of the Iconics. Billie Kay then goes out. Peyton goes out mostly because of Liv. Then Liv goes out because the Iconics pull her out of the ring. So then it gets weird. And this is just when it gets weird. So Nikki gets out because Dana Brooke throws her out of the ring. Nikki is then mad because Dana Brooke goes for kind of a baseball slide towards Nikki, and Nikki traps her in the apron. Then Nikki gets back in. I said, I don't remember this at Royal Rumble, but sure. I thought that the announcers were going to say something in relation to what had happened. They didn't. Nobody said anything. Tamina carries Nikki out of the ring and then kicks her off the apron, and then she's officially out. I guess Tamina throwing somebody out is that's it. That's settled. Bianca then throws Tamina out. Naomi is out because of Lacey. Shotzi gets Lacey out. Lacey pulls Shotzi out. Bianca is then spending a little bit of extra time trying to fight Tegan, and Tegan kind of dodges her to send her out of the ring. Dana then pulls Tegan out of the ring because ultimately, I guess, Dana is still in. She jumps back into the ring to fight the remaining two, which is Shayna Baszler and Asuka. Asuka hip attacks Dana and sends her out of the ring entirely. And now it's just Shayna and Asuka. Bayley tries to pull Asuka out. Asuka knocks Bayley over, then sends a knee to Sasha's face, I believe. And then Baszler tries to send Asuka out of the ring, but Asuka lands on Bayley and Sasha. So she doesn't land on the floor, because that's what gets you out. Unless you're Dana Brooke or Nikki Cross. Then Sasha. Shayna is trying to chokehold Asuka into submission, and Asuka then carries her over the ropes out of the ring to win. So now she has 2 matches at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Gonna win the first one, and the second one she's gonna be too tired and loses because of it, or she somehow wins both.
I wouldn't mind seeing her win literally either of them. It doesn't matter to me.
Or Shayna tries to make a deal with Asuka. Tries to get one of the matches from her. Maybe says...
They'll fight on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. Or Shayna and somebody else fight, and the winner gets that spot. I don't know.
Okay.
I have a feeling we're not actually going to see Asuka do 2 fights. I have a feeling that, like, just in terms of Asuka as the wrestler, that would be way too taxing on her body. Like I don't think any wrestler would do that unless you're Randy Orton fighting R-Truth. I don't think Asuka would. So, or maybe one of those spots is going to Kyrie.
No. There's Denzos with us.
You don't think they'd want to send her off in a nice way at SummerSlam?
Well, no, because she was originally supposed to go out with an injury.
I mean, originally.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Kyrie. I think that there's a better chance of what you said earlier with Shayna being like, hey, we fight, and whoever wins this fight gets the Raw Women's title match spot, because you've got 2 now, and that's not fair. That feels like a very Shayna thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure Kyrie is happily at home right now in Japan.
Maybe Nia Jax and Shayna fight for it, or Asuka gives it to...
Nia Jax is suspended.
Oh, right. Or maybe Asuka gives it to Io. Bring Io up to the main roster.
Well, Io would have to get rid of her title at TakeOver first.
I mean, it writes itself. Asuka on Monday gives it to Io. At TakeOver, Io loses to Tegan, loses that belt. Then on Sunday, Io fights either Bayley or Sasha, wins that, brought up to the main roster.
Isn't she fighting Dakota?
Did I say Tegan?
Yeah.
I meant Dakota.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
But you see, because it writes itself, they won't do it.
Right. It's too easy.
Yeah.
I think that it makes more sense for Stephanie to like do a video chat on Monday and be like, hey, Asuka, so you're supposed to fight 2 matches at SummerSlam, and honestly, I don't see that happening. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna fight the next person to walk out who wants the title. And then we're gonna get Shayna Baszler being like, wah! I'm gonna be like, oh no.
No, what if they pull a Keith Lee, she wins both, and then Stephanie McMahon is just like, so Asuka gave up one of these titles on her own, and now we're gonna have a tournament to see who gets it.
The whole time she makes that speech, it's just Asuka's tied up in a back room. Like I imagine Keith Lee probably was while William Regal did what he did.
And did I mention she gave it up on her own?
All on her own! Oh, poor Keith Lee. My dude came out there. He was like, I won these titles and I'm so proud. And then William Regal was like, stop being proud.
And then Keith Lee was like, I won this one title, and I'm proud.
William Regal filmed like what he was supposed to say at the next NXT, and he showed it to Keith, and he was like, react accordingly. It was like, fuck. And then they fined him $250. So then we get Bayley and Sasha backstage because Bayley's confused. I'm confused. We're all confused. And they're just talking trash, as they often do. It's usually their promos. And then Asuka ambushes them, and the only person to stop her at the end of the day is Pat Buck. Couldn't stop Nia Jax. Stop Asuka. Bless his soul.
Yeah.
Just Pat.
Pat Buck.
Pat Buck. Welcome to the Pat Buck Show. I'm Liz. And then it got worse again. It somehow got worse. It somehow just keeps... Like, you take 2 steps up and you're like, oh, this is okay. And then it gets 5 steps worse and you're like, oh, this is horrible. So Mandy Rose is talking. I don't really care what she's saying. I don't really care. I really don't. I got nothing in me for her. Sorry. So there's going to be a hair versus hair match at SummerSlam, where loser has to go bald.
Oh, remember when we talked about how women's wrestling is all about hair and women cliches?
Remember when I made several comments about how annoyed I was with the fact that Lacey Evans tried to tie Naomi's hair to the ropes? And then Vince McMahon said,
to be fair, Naomi tried to do that to Lacey today.
Fair enough, Lacey tried to do it twice. 2 matches in a row. But we had it right.
Yeah, the hair versus hair stipulation is not good. It's Isn't like yeah, they both have nice hair, but never has it ever been mentioned in the plot of the story besides when Sonya tried to cut her hair.
No, I think it's funny. I just think it's funny how we've seen so many pay-per-views recently where it wasn't like a title on the line or anything. It was just respect. It was just respect on the line at that point. There was no stipulation. There was nothing of the sort. In fact, it was just mostly 2 men fighting. There was a story. They have taken the one female-led story that they have in the Smackdown arsenal. They made it about hair. Not, the ultimate betrayal by your best friend. No. About hair. What matters more to a woman than her best friend who has been her best friend for an extended period of time, for a very long period of time, and just suddenly decided, hey, I'm going to screw them over. What matters more to a woman than that? Her hair.
I thought we'd move past this because on Twitter, Bailey posted a video of her saying, like, sucks that Sonya stole your hair, but I'm about to steal something else from you. I'm gonna steal your man. And she was working out next to Otis, who also seemed in character. And then Mandy responded to that and said basically, like, get away from my man. And I thought we were gonna get that feud, but it doesn't look like we are.
Over the course of my 24 years on this stupid spinning rock in space, I've gone through my fair share of breakups with friends. If having my head shaved by my friend meant that we would be friends again, I probably would have done it. I love my hair. I do. Hair versus hair stipulation is just so
demeaning.
I've been showing Mark episodes of Seinfeld, and there's one where the character Elaine has a problem with another woman, and it's like a very serious problem. Like, this woman's like kind of like a psychopath, and she gets into a fight with this person at work, and this girl like has like a vendetta out for her, and she sees her walking down the street, and she goes to a cop, and she's like, "You have to like stand in the way of this. Like, she's insane. She's gonna kill me. Like, I don't want to get into a fight with this woman." This woman comes up to Elaine, and Elaine's like, "Oh my god, okay." And like they get into a fight, and the cops are just like, "Cat fight." And that's like the entire bit for the episode. And I feel like that's also Vince McMahon. I feel like he watched that episode and he's like, "Yeah, it's a cat fight. That's crazy."
He yelled over to Stephanie or to Shane and was like, "Write that down!"
No, Stephanie was not in the writer's room for that. Stephanie was out having like a call. And it was just Vince and Shane, and Shane was like, "I just want to please Father." And Shane was like, "Write it down." And Shane was like, "Yes, sir." I just want 2 women fighting for the sake of fighting. Is that so much to ask? I didn't think it was. I'll fight anyone. Put me in SummerSlam. I'll fight whoever you want. There doesn't have to be a damn storyline to it. I'll fight whoever. They can beat me to hell. I don't care. Let it happen. If it means that it's 2 women fighting for the sake of fighting, fine. I'll show you 14 World Star videos. That's fighting for fighting. Not about hair.
Yeah.
I'm getting a headache. I'm gonna take some Excedrin.
Oh no, Liz is popping pills right on the stream.
Excedrin.
Sponsored by Excedrin.
Sponsored by Excedrin. Please sponsor me. Give me some free Excedrin. I use so much. Anyways.
And banned. That was water, everybody. She took that with water.
I'm not a psychopath. Oh.
Mylum said now you have to talk about your demons every podcast like Hardy.
Fine. You know, I'm a Gemini. I will overshare.
Some would say
But
she
I won't,
already
'cause I'm not
does.
Jeff Hardy.
Sheamus versus Liz
They
feud
do so
incoming.
much worse. I would fight Sheamus in a heartbeat. But actually, if I were to ever join SmackDown, I would want my first match to be a mixed match with me versus Corey Graves. I want Corey Graves to hurt. I cannot stand him. I can't stand a single word that comes out of that man's mouth. And he sits there. He sits there every SmackDown with this. Like, he's so concerned. I'm like, Corey, Retribution ran after you and you hightailed it out of there. I fight Corey Graves. I fight Corey Graves in a heartbeat. Anyways, I'll move on.
So there was a Sheamus promo.
Okay. So Sheamus is backstage and he tells the 2 of the 5 security guards that WWE is allowed to employ during SmackDown episode tapings. He tells 2 of them that Retribution's not going to mess with his match. They can go home. No big deal. Which wasn't wrong. Say.
And this is the exact reason why I think Sheamus is leading Retribution.
It doesn't make sense.
He hates
Was
WWE.
proven that it doesn't make sense.
He hates Vince. He wants Retribution. He was the one wrestler in that locker room that was not mad about Retribution. He was mad at the other wrestlers. And he was also one of the very few wrestlers not around the ring later on.
But he was. He came back. You weren't. You. Oh my. Did come back.
Liz hates when I make fun predictions like this, because she hates fun.
I suggested I would fight Corey Graves out of the goodness of my heart, and you say I hate fun?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm so sorry. My hair is so long. I can't stand it. I'm like moving my hair around. I'm like its own person now. I was gonna save this for when we promo our next episode on Monday. I can't. Oh, Shawn Michaels is coming to Monday Night Raw to yell at Randy Orton, and I'm so excited.
Is this basically Shawn Michaels taking over for Paul Heyman?
this is Shawn Michaels coming and being like, "Hey, Randy, that was mean," and then leaving. However, I have teased it in a way that responded to my little goblin brain, and I was like, Shawn Michaels versus Randy Orton, please.
I feel like we'd sooner get Triple H versus Randy Orton.
I would also sign up for that. In fact, I'd sign up for that twice. Anyway, so Nikki is backstage with Alexa Bliss. Lexi is obviously not okay. But she tells Nikki she's fine. She's fine. Looking good tonight, at least. And then we have Sheamus versus Chad Gable. I don't know. Are we calling him Chad or are we calling him Shorty G?
I think he's still Shorty G right now.
Okay, fine. It's a short fight. Sure, it's a short fight. That's funny. So Shorty G just comes in and like is doing his best against Sheamus. Sheamus then corners him and sends elbows to his head until he's tired. He then sends Shorty G onto the apron over the ropes and begins punching his chest repeatedly. I was trying to think of the word for like, I think it's chest compressions when like you're choking and like someone has to like do that. That's kind of what it reminded me of. We got an uppercut by Sheamus and then a drop kick to Sheamus's little knees, his little old knees by Shorty G, which he then proceeded to target for a majority of his time up in the match, until Sheamus kind of turned around with running forearms to Shorty G. Then got a series of knees. A knee to Shorty G's spine, and then a knee to Shorty G's sternum, and then a knee to Shorty G's neck. And then a somersault kick to Sheamus, flying drop kick to Sheamus, an ankle lock to Sheamus, which Sheamus then reversed, countered. Shorty G tried to roll him up, but he kicked out at 2. Sheamus then said, "This is very tiring. You're a child, and I am a very, 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 very old man. And I have been doing this for far too long." Proceeds to conduct the white noise from Sheamus to Shorty G. Still my favorite title move. It's funny because Sheamus is the most porcelain white man I've ever seen. And then a bro kick to G from Sheamus, and Shorty G is dead. So, one of the few matches that actually ended with a verdict.
Yeah, they all ended with verdicts today.
Oh, did I?
Just the first one ended short, but even that one was redone.
I don't know why I thought that he had a lot of interference.
No, Grand Metalik versus Shinsuke ended with a verdict. Obviously, the Battle Royale ended with a verdict. And then John Morrison versus Big E had a verdict.
Yeah, good match from Sheamus. I'm glad that he beat Shorty G because I didn't really want to see him lose to Shorty G.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone could expect Sheamus to win that fight.
I mean, with Smackdown, can you ever expect anybody to win a fight?
Jeff Hardy. Because the writers will it.
It was funny though, because Sheamus's promo, he told the security guards to go home. You could see scratches on his chest, like on his one bicep. And then he got into the ring with Shorty G, and he didn't have those scratches. And then after he broke kicked Shorty G, he had those scratches. I said, I'm not an idiot. I might be dumb, but I'm not an idiot. And then we had a very brief shot of AJ backstage showing a man who was later announced to be his accountant.
Name's Abyss.
Something. Huh?
I think his name's Abyss. I think he's a former wrestler.
Oh.
I think. I'm not so sure. I might have completely misread something I saw on Twitter.
I'm gonna say why I thought this promo was funny while you fact check yourself. I just thought it was funny because I imagined, because it's, you see the back of a computer and AJ Styles over this man who may or may not be Abyss. The man looks scared and AJ looks psyched. And the whole time I just kind of imagined that it was AJ Styles showing this man flat earth model.
Also, hi Mike. Mike said he's stopping by to say hi real quick because he's out and about.
Mike!
But yes, his name is Christopher Parks, formerly Abyss from Impact Wrestling.
Alright. I have not watched Impact Wrestling for a single day in my life, so I'm glad that you found that out for me, because I never would have. It's actually funny, though, because I think I saw an article talking about Abyss. My brain did not ever say... There were no connections made. Yes, I had a good laugh imagining that AJ was showing him a flat earth model.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
He was making a nice flat earth presentation.
He just seems so excited, and Mr. Abyss seemed so scared. And that's why I assumed it was just AJ Styles' take on the world.
Mm-hmm.
By that I mean quite literally the planet Earth. I was very prepared for a fight to happen when AJ was announced as he walked down the ramp. So I wrote AJ verse. And then you mentioned that this guy was supposed to be his I guess his accountant.
Looked like his accountant.
I just wrote AJ versus his finances. AJ then plugs his own goddamn Twitch, which, you know what? Same. Absolutely. Same vibes. Totally. I would have done the same damn thing. And then he announces that he has his IC, Phenomenal Intercontinental Statistics System, aka this.
I love how the P was cut off when you said that, so it only came out as piss.
Piss.
There you go.
Thank you. I guess the statistics basically just say that AJ is the Intercontinental champion, and he should remain the Intercontinental champion. Until Jeff Hardy comes out and says, haha, I need a storyline that doesn't completely deal with my sobriety, so I'm challenging you.
Until SummerSlam when AJ says, hey, I just found out you're a junkie. But he says
junkie.
Yeah, he says, I just found out you're a junkie.
And just like...
AJ takes off his mask and it's Sheamus.
You know what? With the way Sheamus is dressing lately, maybe.
Sheamus is CM Punk confirmed.
That's gonna be my new thing. Everybody's CM Punk now. Jeff Hardy has also dyed his hair recently. And that's only important because his hair color right now looks like he's using the same exact dye as Matt Hardy. It's a very similar color. And when it's mixed with dark brown hair, it looks like it's definitely the exact same color. So that's just me. That's just my thoughts. I just have some thoughts on that. It's cute. It's cute. I used to get my hair cut out of place. And there's a couple, they're probably aged. They had the same hair color. And my hairdresser said, my stepfather, who was the one getting his hair cut by this woman, was like, oh yeah, no. They come in, she gets her hair dyed, and I use the rest of the hair dye on her husband. So they had matching hair colors. I've kept that to myself for probably 14 years. And
Maybe
I
it should
needed
have
to tell
stayed
someone.
that way.
Told you all. Anyways, so Jeff then starts pummeling AJ Styles, does what I like to call the Jeff KO, which is just a neck breaker done by Jeff Hardy. And then signs the whiteboard. Like, he writes his name first and then signs it. I guess that's their SummerSlam contract. I'm so tired of Jeff Hardy. I'm so tired of him. Bad feeling tired of him. I am. And then we have Cesaro and Shinsuke backstage. Cesaro is talking to Shinsuke. And for some reason, Corey Graves is able to his microphone can be heard while we're watching Cesaro talk to Shinsuke.
It felt like a really bad voiceover.
It was a very bad voiceover.
Nice.
Hi. House Party, aka Sensei and Grand Metalik, try to steal their titles, and Cesaro and Shinsuke catch them in the act. And I guess that's supposed to be like a lead-in to their match, one promo from now, but hearing Corey Graves' voice when I shouldn't hear it was just... I can just imagine recording that VO, and I'm like, I can just see Corey Graves in the studio, like, Cesaro, Shinsuke, look out! I hate it. Anyways, I look like I'm entirely here now.
Besides
we then have
knee right in front of you.
This is all I am. Just a head, a knee, and hair.
Oh, and hands.
Oh, and yeah, I've also got arms. Jeez.
Thank you, Ishii Buttcrack, for following.
Okay. And we have AJ Styles backstage with his accountant, aka Abyss. Kayla's interviewing them. AJ Styles is mad as hell, and he says, "You know what happens when you mess with AJ Styles? You get erased." And they're still holding the whiteboard, and AJ tries to wipe it all off, but Jeff Hardy used permanent marker, so I still would have smeared if it was filmed right after he got off stage, but we won't talk about that. Alright. Now we have Grand Metalik versus Shinsuke. This was about the point where I realized I really genuinely hate the confessional booth thing that they're doing now.
Yeah, weird.
It's just cringy.
They're trying so hard with their like weird interview confessional formats. Like, it started off, we had like the whole montage of the everything going on in the day, and then it turned into just the people opening the night, and then it is what we have now, how it's sort of these confessionals that pop up right before a fight, where each wrestler gives kind of their 2 cents. It feels very weird.
It's... And also the thing is like, with like these... I guess you could call them adjustments. These like weird little adjustments, it's like, you really think that what was losing you viewership on Smackdown or NXT were the way you did intros on Smackdown or the way you did commercials on NXT? Now we've got Smackdown with like these like very strange like confessional booth intros like we're watching The Real World. I'm like, that's not what makes me not want to watch Smackdown. First of all, I have to watch Smackdown to do this podcast, but also the thing is, it's like, what makes me not want to watch it, if I were a regular viewer, the thing that would make me not want to watch it is the fact that the storylines just suck. And tonight, admittedly, storylines weren't horrible. There was one storyline that made me feel quite a bit. But the confessional stuff is drawing me even further away from this.
Real quick, completely sidebar. Randy Orton just made a TikTok.
No, he didn't.
It's him playing with a Randy Orton and a Drew McIntyre action figures. He makes the Randy Orton figure RKO the Drew McIntyre figure, pin him, and then takes a little mini WWE belt and puts it on his shoulder. And smirks at the camera.
I'm firing Randy Orton.
I'll show you in a second once the video starts over. Hold it up right to the camera.
Are you going to show me through? Okay. He's doing this on his lap.
Yeah.
He's doing this on his goddamn lap. I hate him. 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 I genuinely do not like him. I love him. He is such a schmuck. Also, this episode brought to you by Randy Orton's TikTok.
Didn't know he had one.
And sadly, now we do. For what?
All because Lana said you're not a star if you don't have a TikTok.
Randy was like, shit. Anyways. Okay. So, Shinsuke starts out by punching Gran Metalik. Lindsay tries to get involved, but the ref warns him, is like, get from this ring, get away. It knees to Gran Metalik's chest. He then ends up throwing Shinsuke over his shoulder. Then springboards off the ropes, but Shinsuke dodges him. Falls victim to the head scissors, though, because you can't dodge Gran Metalik, I don't think. He's far too fast for such things. He goes for the basement kick, and Shinsuke manages to lift his knees in time to stop him. Then Shinsuke sends him to the corner. Metalik gets his legs up in time. It's a crossbody to Shinsuke. Then he also managed to get a boot to the face. You know, everything balances itself out. Elbow drop to Shinsuke, then a kick to Shinsuke's crotch, which they called the midsection, but I said definitely is the midsection, but not the one you're talking about. Metalik goes off the ropes. Shin catches him. Covers. Lazy cover. He was being a little bit of a diva. And this is an inverter. But my God, it's not enough to compete with the next move. Their Lucha House Party's sleeve. Which is Kalisto's back.
Best part of the night.
Every time I'm always like, I'll read like articles and stuff. I go through so many articles just to like do the news section of this podcast. I go through so many. And every article from every wrestling website, whether it's one that I trust inherently or it's one that I don't really trust inherently, every article is always very clickbaity. It's like, oh, former WWE star is going to AEW. And I'm like, oh, it's somebody that performed with WWE twice. Okay, sure. Or it's somebody that like has been announced to go over to AEW for like years now. It feels like. I never see news like this. I never see like, oh, it's rumored that Kalisto's finally coming back. When Xavier Woods does come back, because I'm just going to will it into the universe that he is going to come back. I know for a fact that there will not be like a Raw episode 4 days prior. Where I'm like, oh, well, it's rumored that Xavier Woods is finally back. You know, I'm never going to get that headline. Kalisto is suddenly back. And thank God, because I smell SummerSlam or Payback in the air right now, baby. Those tag titles are swimming with the sharks tonight, boys, and it's Shark Week. This only works because I think it literally is Shark Week right now.
Yes.
Remember when Mike Tyson decided to box a fucking shark?
So anyway.
So Kalisto comes out, and I was hyped. Cesaro comes to stop him. So it doesn't work. I can't explain to you why it doesn't work. It looked like it looked like Cesaro countered a move, and then he did it, and suddenly he was on the ground, on the ramp, and but this gives Grand Metalik the advantage. Kicks Shinsuke in the head from the top rope, does a flying elbow to Shin, and wins him for the win. And yeah, Kalisto's back. So that's awesome. That's exciting.
And Milam's
got
right.
our first 3-man tag back.
Milam's right. Kalisto was ripped.
Dude, Kalisto was... My dude said, I'll be gone for a minute, and when I come back, I'll be twice the man I once was. And I said, you're not wrong.
We got the quarantine bod we all want.
Kalisto's quarantine 15 was just 15 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Wish that I could say the same for myself, but it's 15 pounds of Reese's peanut butter cups. Don't say what you're about to say.
Let's do a vote, everyone, real quick.
No.
How do you pronounce the brand of peanut butter cups? The most famous peanut butter cups in the world. How do you pronounce the brand?
Carefully. Should I move on while this vote happens?
All right, we got 2 votes from Splucha and Milam, the only 2 in the chat right now. Let's say Reese's.
Okay, well you're both wrong, so it's fine. Generally, can I just I don't want anybody to give information that they don't want to give, but I'm from the upstate region of New York. Mark is from southern New York, which is hellscape. Where are you guys from? Just like regionally.
Liz.
Also, do you say pop instead of soda? Because if they say
Liz.
pop instead of soda from where they're
Liz.
from, then it's not fair.
Liz.
They're wrong.
Reese's is
Move on.
Reese's is named after the founder.
Yeah,
Reese.
it doesn't matter. It's Reese's.
His name's not
it's Reese's
Reese.
Pieces and Reese's peanut butter cups.
Okay.
Reese's Pieces.
You see, PCs is not even right.
Reese's
PCs is nowhere near right. That is a factual word, and that is not right at all.
It's Reese's Pieces.
Reese's feces, more like, as Splucha said.
In my own home, I get slandered. Actually, to be fair, I don't even like Reese's Pieces, so call them what you want. I don't really care. I don't eat them. I only eat Reese's peanut butter cups.
Reese's.
Reese's.
You pronounce Reese's as well?
I wouldn't know. I haven't had recess since I was in elementary school. Had to grow up fast in upstate.
You
You
didn't
get it in middle school.
You didn't have a recess in middle school or high school?
High school? You have recess in high school?
Oh, I guess we
What
didn't have
school
recess.
were you going to?
No, we didn't. We just had the option of going outside during lunch. But yeah, in middle
You
school.
go outside during lunch?
Yeah.
Upstate, we had to work with cows.
So did we.
We didn't have recess. We had farming time. Just kidding. I did not grow up on a farm. I just wanted to be very clear.
But the time right now is wrestle time. So let's continue with our segment.
You started this!
And I'm getting us back on track.
Also, I opened up... I tried to do a flourish when I was opening my seltzer, and then I spilled it all over my body, so... Anyways. I remember this is pertinent to the the other night's chat. But we did buy a new box of White Claw in case that was something that came up between Splucha or Milam. So we had then Matt Riddle backstage interview. Sweet, sweet Shorty G, Chad, wants to explain himself because he's a puss. And Corbin says, this is weak as hell, and tackles Matt Riddle while Shorty G is trying to apologize for his wrongdoings. And then thanks Shorty G for helping him figure out where Matt Riddle was in the moment so that he could tackle him. Shorty G is like, oh, I'm so sad that I've sold out this man I was apologizing to. I don't really care. Shorty G's back on my shit list after this evening. I don't care for that shit. What about you, Mark? Do you care for that shit?
Shorty G?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm indifferent right now. I mean, he could be planning to get close to Matt Riddle, only to claim the ransom on his own.
He looked so sad after Corbin finally tackled him.
I mean, I feel like this storyline hasn't come to fruition in the way that I hoped. I certainly expected more spotlight on it and more wrestlers to get involved. Like we could be getting, like, instead of Miz and Morrison and Big E doing their own thing, Miz and Morrison are joining in the ransom too, and Big E kind of helps out Matt Riddle a little bit, or even Drew Gulak. Big E doesn't have to. Drew Gulak can, because what else is he doing? Big E can fight Sheamus for all I care.
So after that, we then get Alexa Bliss in her special little interview tonight. Talking about how close she is with Braun. How absolutely close she is with Braun. And the guy who's interviewing her says, because mind you, after an entire montage of very sweet little segments between her and Braun, the interviewer's like, could you ever like imagine like a romantic relationship between the two of you? And she's like, maybe, because Brian Cabrera cares about him. He's not Braun Strowman. And then
Brian
he's
Cabrera,
like,
if you're listening,
I'm sure.
We appreciate your relationship with Alexa Bliss. I'm sure you're a good guy.
I don't.
Hey. I think
I'm
you're
the
a
heel
good guy.
commentator.
No, you're just
No
a
offense.
heel.
I was just gonna say, no offense, Braun Strowman's just really tall and she's really small.
Wasn't that the name of like their duo?
Pretty sure they
Tall
were
and
team
Small?
Big and Small or something like that.
Hmm.
I don't remember now. I should remember, but I don't. However, so big and she is so small. I'm just
Little Big.
little big, yeah. And then the interviewer was like, hey, by the way, since you just said that like maybe there could have been a romantic relationship between the two of you, remember when he said that he didn't give a shit about you last week? And Alexa's like, and then we all just vibe with it. Like, it doesn't hurt me too. Screwed. My feelings. Because I had come out to fight for Alexa Bliss way quicker than I come out to fight for Braun Strowman. I just tell you that much.
Braun's tiring at this point.
What's that?
Braun's tiring at this point. I'm tired. Although, by the end of this SmackDown, actually, things might be a little different. But we'll get to that.
I feel myself rushing through because I want to get to that segment so badly. But also, I want everyone watching to know that we have two sort of big announcements. One that was already put on our Twitter. One big announcement that has not been put on our Twitter and that I have forced Mark into. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably announce it between this and the Best of the Nights because I can't stop myself. So we then have Sonya backstage. She just basically says that she's accepting Mandy's challenge for SummerSlam. And honestly, if either of them losing their hair is a threat to me, as a woman who is attracted to both of them, you're wrong, because they both have nice heads. I'm sure they'll look fine bald. I don't really care. Also, do I trust WWE to actually shave their heads versus putting on a bald cap?
Well,
the slides.
Okay, look at it this way. Wow. Look at it this way. I have a feeling, because Mandy just got her hair cut, and they made a point to not cut her hair when Sonya was doing that whole bit. She cut the extensions. That Sonya's gonna be the one with her head shaved.
I feel like maybe I like went insane, or I had a weird dream that was very accurate or somehow very super related to wrestling somehow. I swear to Christ, I heard about a headline that said Mandy Rose is bald. And I didn't click on it because at that point we were not doing the news section, so it did not apply to me in any way. And normally I try, before we did the news section, I try to avoid any headlines about shows because I was like, I don't want to know what's happening beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, I saw that headline. I was like, that's crazy. I guess maybe this is like the next step in the Mandy Sonya feud because like we hadn't heard about them in a while at that point. So that's what makes me think that that's what's happening. But at the same time, I'm not that worried. Both have nice faces, so yeah.
I want to mention that Splucha made a note about the Alexa Bliss thing, saying he thinks the way the Fiend changed her was by making her develop feelings for Braun, possibly, while Braun has been on this downward spiral of sorts, because Fiend changes everyone he comes in contact with, aside from Goldberg. I kind of have a agreement towards that, but later at the end of the show, I have my own theory which kind of goes along with that. But we'll see. I'll wait until we get there before I bring it up.
I think our feelings about this are mutual. However, Sploocher's right, that adds a second layer to it, and it makes me want to die. So it's fine. I'm not already heartbroken. Don't worry. Anyways.
Last fight?
No. Not well, so I guess yeah.
The last fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Johnny Drip Drip versus Big E. Miz was on commentation. Was commentating. I was trying to write the word for this the whole time. That like this commentary. That's the word. I could not figure it out for the life of me, and was just sitting there staring at my laptop while the fight was starting. I was like, "Shit, what is it? What am I like trying to write out?" Thank you. I should have just asked you in the first place. So this is on commentary. Morrison goes for Big E's knees because apparently they were injured by Retribution when they first came in earlier tonight. Morrison gets himself into a headlock and then a sick little forearm clothesline. Johnny is trying to do his aerial stuff, but he gets his arms wrapped around Big E, and then Big E throws him over. And then pushes him off the top rope in a way that he just like bounces off the side of the ring. And I was like, oh, oh, poor Johnny. Then Big E punches Morrison. Morrison gets up on the apron. Big E splashes him. And the Miz is being such a sweet boy. He comes and he checks on his friend. Yes, bud. Miz gets involved, briefly, giving Morrison the chance to go after E's knee. He then gets a headline on Big E. Otis comes in for whatever reason. I guess he's still mad about what happened last week. Yes. And Coleslaw is instigating the whole damn thing. Lights go down. Coleslaw gets a little panicked, and Retribution comes out, sort of. So we basically jump between two different cameras this whole time. So Retribution comes out, they attack Kayla, and then they attack one of the referees. And then they attack another referee. And then Jessica Carr, mind you, sorry, I forgot to mention this. During this match, everyone from Smackdown is ringside, more or less.
Real quick, Milo mentioned the Otis connection and how it seems tenuous, and that he cooled off a lot. I think they're showing him off for him to use the contract very soon. I think he's going to use that Money in the Bank contract very, very soon because he's been getting a lot more screen time with the briefcase specifically. I very much think that he's going to use it at some point, and I think he's going to use it either on the Intercontinental title or the Universal title.
Yeah. Oh, God, sorry.
And yes, with Braun going bad, Otis could cash in, as Milam said, because they kind of teased at that challenge for a while before, I think it was Extreme Rules.
It was back when Johnny and Miz were like being annoying to Braun.
Oh, that was Backlash. That was before Backlash.
Was it?
Yeah, because Extreme Rules, it was Braun versus Bray. And Backlash was Braun versus Miz and Morrison.
I hate quarantine timelines. None of it makes sense. Oh my God. Wow. Jesus. Anyways, let's finish this fight off before I have to deal with anything else. So then Jessica, the female SmackDown ref, Jessica tells all of the wrestlers that something is happening backstage, I think that was the point of it. And they all evacuate, which stressed me out personally, just based on like current world situations. That stressed me out. And Morrison and Big E are just not bothered. Morrison is continuing to attack Big E, specifically his knee. And then Big E does basically like a half body submission where he holds Morrison's leg and his arm. Morrison taps out. Then Sheamus comes out and Brogue kicks Big E, which points to the fact that Sheamus just wasn't there because he hates everyone in the locker room, not because he's controlling Retribution. And then after Sheamus does that, Braun comes out, and he's bald now. He also hasn't apologized to Alexa Bliss, so.
And then we move on to the last segment of the night.
Yeah, I got problems.
I have
99 problems, and Braun is all of them.
I've got one great theory.
Do you want to say it before I get into it, or do you want to say it after I get into it?
I'll say it after you get it, after you talk about all of it, because it's about what happens at the end.
Alright. Oh, well, yeah, because I think I might have a similar theory.
I think it's what they're implying.
Yeah. So Braun comes out, says that he's going to consume Fiend's entrails, which was weird for me. And Alexa Bliss comes out. And I said, pain. So much pain. Seeing them back in the ring, though, was thrilling. And anyways, so Braun's being a bitch. He was being a grade A bitch. He was being a little bitch boy. No one can deny that. Alexa was yelling at him, saying some hard truths, and Braun wasn't even looking at her because he's a bitch boy. All of my notes don't make any sense at this point. So she basically says, I'm going to slap you. And then says, look at me when you're talking to me. Which, if you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's a very funny line. Then she slaps him multiple times. Not just once, many times. Rightfully so. Because he, she says, you need to wake up. You need to come back to Earth, basically. Like, you're not here. This is Braun, but this is not Braun. Like, this part isn't Braun. This is. This ain't. And I said, oh, bitch. Okay.
If you notice.
So
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm three bullets from being done. So she slaps him multiple times while saying this, and then Braun says, Dexter Loomis smile, and then picks her up, and I said, no, you put her down right this instant, my sir. Instead of putting her down gently, he throws her down. And then the lights go out, and then the Fiend shows up. And when the Fiend shows up, Braun Strowman is suddenly video chatting with us from the other side. And let me just tell you something. Can we talk about the mail, Charlie? I've been dying to talk about the mail. I keep saying Charlie. I mean Mac. Anyways. I need to say. When Alexa said, you need to wake up, and then the lights went out and the Fiend came out, I said, oh, that's not Braun, is it? That's Nega Braun.
Okay. So.
Go for it.
My theory.
I'm sure
Braun is the Fiend. Braun is the Fiend. Because, A, when Fiend showed up, he was standing exactly where Braun was. This goes along with what Splucha was saying, how the Fiend was trying to make Alexa develop feelings for Braun, which is something Braun would do. And, like, the fact that Braun saw Alexa as Sister Abigail at the swamp, and then would kind of go after her after the pay-per-view's over, it makes sense. It's not just like he randomly picked Alexa Bliss out of nowhere. Now the fight between Fiend and Braun, I think this goes into the two Brauns. Too
many?
Yeah, because there were two Brauns at the swamp. I have a separate theory, but it kind of conflicts with this one, that I've said previously that maybe the swamp fight was in Bray's head this whole time, but I think it's in Braun's head. I think it was the whole confrontation with the other Braun was him fighting his internal self that wants to turn to Bray and wants to be back with the Wyatt family, which is why we never saw that Braun again. And the Braun we've been seeing on the TV really close up when the Fiend shows up is kind of Braun inside of his head. It's his internal monologues. And also, Braun and Bray were kind of both laughing at the same time. They laughed in sync. Although, yeah, Splucha said it wouldn't count on WWE to get this meta with the storyline, but Bray is kind of like the birth child of WWE, I think they would want to take extra care and work with him.
I say one thing.
Yes.
Specifically one thing. Very specifically, Bray has always kind of like given off like a hint of like fear as it's concerned towards the Fiend. More so, more in the sense that like a lot of like his recent Firefly Funhouses have been like, hey, he's out now. So you gotta worry. You should be scared. You cannot convince me. And frankly, the only thing that will convince me is the fact that I know it's the WWE and I know how they have thrown away storyline after storyline after storyline, which could have been amazing. And then they said, oh, just kidding. Because, like, you know, the car crash storyline. Anywho.
Okay.
Anywho. Hang on. One second.
I stopped.
I know. Just saying. Braun, as far as history goes, loves Alexis. Whether it's platonically or not, I don't. Yeah, sorry. I just dealt with. There's an overlap in my personal life. Braun loves Alexa, whether it's platonic or romantic, it doesn't matter. He loves her. For him to pull a Dexter Lumis smile while she's slapping him, first of all, does kind of ruin the whole thing that we were kind of going for earlier, I think last week. I imagine it was about a week ago now. We were both like, oh, well, he's probably like saying he doesn't care about her because then it'll distract the Fiend from her. Like, oh, well, if he doesn't care about her, then it doesn't matter. But for him to be like, no, you betrayed me, and then smile while she's slapping him full force against the face, I was like, my heart, first of all, that's pain. That's pain. Second of all, it didn't feel right. And I am praying, because this is what I said last time when we were talking about the swamp fight, that if what you had been saying about the swamp fight being as meta as it was, that means that they have their best writer on that, that alone. And that would further... It would further confirm for me that this is like their best writer that they've ever had in the Smackdown series. If Braun is now the Fiend, and the Braun that we are seeing on stage is not actually Braun.
So Milam asked, has Braun, according to this theory, has Braun always been the Fiend or just in recent weeks? I am going to say just recent weeks, but I have a question to kind of help confirm this. Have we seen Bray since Extreme Rules?
No. Well,
there was one Firefly Funhouse, wasn't there?
I think there's been two.
Two.
I'm not mistaken. I think there's been two.
Now, the whole thing could have kind of happened... Like, the whole swamp fight could have happened in his head and ended around the time where, like, it could have ended as soon as he was, like, beat down by the guys and brought and, like, tied up in the chair. That could have been, like, the last real moment we saw. And then Bray turned him into the Fiend. Because they both fell into the water together, and only the Fiend came out. We don't know who the Fiend is. And now you may ask, how do they do SummerSlam, Braun versus the Fiend? Well, it's two Brauns, I guess. Apparently.
Fuck off. I don't like that.
You have Braun Fiend, or WWE pulls a kind of stupid 360, and Braun Fiend is just Braun wearing the Fiend mask, and then the Fiend is Bray, just Bray. So it's Braun in the Fiend mask versus Bray. That's how I would expect them to pull it off. But I think my favorite way would be the Fiend versus Braun 2. But I wouldn't know who would have the title at that point, so that's where it kind of gets confusing.
I just don't want Braun to be mean to Alexa anymore. That's where my heart lies in this entire match. I'm just like, nice, be friends again.
Yeah.
Pretty please.
But yeah, that's my theory. We'll see in less than 2 weeks if it's proven right or wrong.
It's actually technically 1 day over 2 weeks from now.
2 days.
Because it is only Friday. Week and 2 days?
Yeah.
I'm stressed.
So you had an announcement before we get into the best.
2 announcements. I'll reiterate these announcements very briefly at the end of the podcast. However, I'm going to say them now because I know that I've got everyone's attention. So first announcement is we are going to do. Said that I was going to do it tonight. I lied, but I said this to Mark, so it doesn't count. We are going to do at the end of every month a little shout out section. We're going to do it once a month. I don't care if I repeat people. I personally know that there are several people that we could easily shout out, and that we have shouted out in the past before. I know that a lot of people who follow us, a lot of people who watch us, and a lot of people who we're friends with too, have creative ventures that could use a little more recognition. I don't know if this is necessarily a lot of recognition, but we want to do our part to help. So if you have a creative venture of some sort, or any venture of some sort, really, I'm not very picky. If you have something that you want shouted out on the podcast, let us know. We will do a month-end kind of review of different people. We'll probably shout out anyone who asks. And basically, if you want to be shouted out, let us know in our DMs on Twitter. Give us any pertinent information that matters. And we'll be happy to do so constantly because we're normally plugging ourselves. So who's to say it wouldn't hurt once a month to do it for other people too? Because, a lot of people who watch this and a lot of... I know... I don't know if Mike's here anymore, but I think... I know Milam's still here, so... Milam is always really good about giving us tweets and stuff, which I always like because that's my main form of social media. But and we really appreciate that. So we want to be able to do the same thing for other people, especially on this podcast. So give us the pertinent information if you do have someone that you want shouted out. If it's yourself, if it's someone else, just let us know. Give us a link, and we can do that. And then the second bit of information. I hope that the first one was detailed enough. I don't know. I felt like I was rambling. Mark, do you have opinions on what I just said?
No.
Does it sound good?
Yeah. Mylon thinks it sounds good too.
Thanks, Mylon. The second thing is that, assuming this goes to plan, because we are planning this several months in advance, it's the 8th month of the year, so we've got 4 more before the end of it. I approached this to Mark, and he did not stop me. So we are going to do a year-end awards. We'll do a special awards show. It will not be on a wrestling night. It'll ideally be on a night where there's nothing else going on. And I don't know if we'll do this in a stream or a YouTube video or something, but we are going to do an awards show. Our favorite wrestlers and such of the year. And I have decided that they are called the Mike Romies because I love Mike Rome. And Mark hates me. But they're going to be called the Micromies. They'll have fun categories such as I've deleted, I've closed out the page that I wrote all these down on, but we'll have special categories like, best performer and best tag team and best whatever, it doesn't matter, but also like best Randy Orton punt or best one-off tag team. It'll be ridiculous. It'll probably be stupid. Mark's probably going to be angry for most of it. But I'm here to announce that we are going to start the Micromies. I'm very excited. I just wanted to tell everyone this because I thought of it, and now I'm very happy that I thought of it because... Huh?
Oh boy. Alright. The best of the night?
And also, Mark does keep track of like a lot of stats and stuff. So for like best performers and whatnot, if we don't agree with them, I've decided that we can give them an honorary Micromie. Plus, he's got such a good name for it. He's got such a good name for an awards show. Micromies. You can't do that with Greg Hamilton. Greg Hammies. Okay. I'm sorry I mentioned it. Micromies. It's still the Micromies. It will always be the Micromies. It's my favorite. Alright, Greg, just not enough. It's not enough flair, if you will. Huh? I just want you to know that sometimes this goes crooked because the spin was crooked. It's not just always me. Best of the night.
So promo. Sorry, I'm very tired. So I guess we started off with Retribution, if you want to consider that a promo, I guess.
We can, but I'm not choosing it.
I'm not choosing it either. Then we went into the promo with lots of wrestlers talking in the locker room, followed by Sheamus. We got a nice little moment from Big E where he kind of helped unite everyone. It was very sweet. Then we had Sasha and Bayley talking in the ring about the Battle Royale. Had a nice moment, or I enjoyed when they were kind of announcing everybody. But it was cut short by Asuka coming in. And then we had promo with Sasha and Bayley. Nothing special there. The Mandy promo, I tuned out for this. The Sheamus promo, I think I also tuned out for this. The Nikki and Alexa promo, which was kind of sweet, but it's kind of what we've been waiting for with Nikki approaching Alexa, but it was very underwhelming. And then there's AJ Styles' presentation on why he is the best, featuring his accountant and Jeff Hardy. And then we had the promo with Cesaro and Shinsuke with Corey Graves' very weird VO and Lucha House Party stealing the belt. And then we had the interview with AJ Styles. And then we had an interview with Matt Riddle featuring Short G. Then we had the interview with Alexa Bliss, which was very eerie and kind of weird. Then we had promo with Sonya, kind of tuned out for this. And then we had Braun in the ring with Alexa featuring The Fiend. This one is kind of tough for me, I gotta say. I'm torn between three. There's the locker room talking about Retribution. Big E is the best damn promo wrestler in WWE right now. He is so good on the mic. So we got Big E. Also AJ Styles' presentation. And then Braun and Alexa. I'm leaning a little towards Braun and Alexa because it made me develop this nice theory that it makes me look forward to this story Also, we didn't announce this in the news, but somebody showed pictures of a new look Alexa Bliss is going to be showing off for next week, which is a very Sister Abigail look. And I am very excited.
Theory, have they filmed that yet or no? Because
I think that would be filming today.
Okay.
Or Wednesday.
This
Past Wednesday.
coming. Yeah, this week passed.
Yeah.
They have only filmed one Smackdown episode. They were meant to film 2.
Yeah.
So everyone knows. Winks.
I kind of don't want to give it to the AJ Styles presentation. Biggie is just so good. Well, was that the Yankees game?
My volume wasn't down. I'm sorry. I clicked a video.
God, I'm torn on this. I'm torn.
I can tell you what to go with, but
you know, I'm going against what chat's saying right now, and I'm going for Braun in the ring, confronting Alexa, and with the appearance of the Fiend, it gives us tons of questions, and gives us hope that this is one of the very, very few good storylines coming out of SmackDown, maybe even Raw in general, or not Raw, WWE in general. And I am very excited. I love this storyline right now, albeit it came out of a very horrible cinematic match, but I'm looking forward to it.
I opened up the chat because I'll normally look at the chat when like we're doing this stuff because I can like if I sit back far enough I can't see what everyone's asking for, so it won't sway my views. But this is usually a good time for me to like look at the chat and like know what's happening. And I just saw Splooch's comment about Braun was about to yeet her into the nosebleeds.
Oh god. Yeah, and like the most unexpected moment where Braun actually throws Alexa. That was great.
It was so Ric Flair-esque. Rest in peace, sweet soldier. Yeah, no, I'm going with that. I want to go. It's hard because I do want to go with Big E. But I think the fact that we don't really know why Big E was being so emotional towards Sheamus, especially. I think next week we might definitely get a Big E promo of the night. Judging by how tonight went, I just can't give it to him for this one thing alone because while that was moving, the Braun and Alexa promo was also moving and fed into a further storyline, which is kind of what I need the promos to do for me, at least in SmackDown. Sometimes with like Raw, I can be like, oh, this promo was just absolutely insane. And then I can sit back and just be like, okay, this is good. But with SmackDown, especially right now, like I need there to be a higher meaning at the end of the day. And while I want Big E's speech from this evening to also be on my phone when I wake up in the morning, like to my alarm, because I feel like that would just give you the like joie de vivre to be like, I can do anything. My dude just said, I have been bruised, but I am not beaten. I've been disrespected, but I am not defeated. And I said, okay. Didn't come out here for this. My soul. I feel things.
And yes, Biggie is the winner in our hearts.
Honestly, if like we could fit both the Big E promo and then the Braun and Alexa Bliss promo into one promo of the night entry, we would. Sadly, we have to choose one. And while I am choosing Braun and Alexa Bliss, Big E promo was just as important.
Mm-hmm. Fighter of the night?
Yeah, I guess let's go on to that.
So I'm pretty much dead set on this already, but I'll still go through them. So we started off with the... I'm gonna ignore the first Big E versus John Morrison. Skip right over it and... No, total. So we have the Triple Brands Battle Royale, and... God, this is... Every wrestler here just had 2 moves, and that was it. So, I mean, I guess for this fight, I'd pick Naomi? I guess? I don't know.
Asuka?
Huh? I mean,
Asuka?
what did Asuka do? She landed on Bayley and Sasha and then pulled Shayna outside the ring. I mean...
Will you or will you not choose Kalisto's abs, as my LM has suggested?
I will not be choosing Kalisto's abs.
Wow, chat gets degraded one more time.
Yes, because if there's one thing we live for on this show, it's hating the chat.
You don't hate the chat. I love the chat.
I hate the chat.
I love the chat. Every time that we have the chat going, I'm just like, friends! I'm here for you, chat. Even if I go against your wishes also, because I probably will.
I'm here against you.
Mark loves the chat.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, so the next fight, Sheamus versus Shorty G. I liked Shorty G the most in this fight. Sheamus, allegedly, yes. I like Shorty G the most. I feel like he was kind of fighting an uphill battle here. And I mean that showed by his loss, but he looked good for fighting such like a tenured opponent. Sheamus just looked like he was taking out some trash. To
be fair, Shorty G is also relatively tenured. It's just he doesn't have the long hair anymore. Sheamus has looked the same for his entire time in WWE.
Yeah, but who was...
Hasty with a red mohawk.
Who doesn't have a stupid name?
Don't be mean to Chad. Just kidding. I like Sheamus more anyways. I'm not a puss.
But then we move into Grand Metalik versus Shinsuke, and my god, Grand Metalik looked amazing this fight. He is an incredible wrestler. He is one of the best luchadors right now. He is just, my god, something to marvel at. Not sold on Shinsuke. I wish I was. He has his moments, but I'm never convinced by his wrestling. Not to say he's a bad wrestler, but just not sold. And no, Kalisto is not my vote. Kalisto was not billed for a fight today. Or booked for a fight, whatever. And then lastly we had John Morrison versus Big E. And you see, this fight is tough for me to pick someone from because the focus was hardly on the fight. We were focusing on The Miz several times and Otis, and then we were focusing on the crafty or catering for most of the time. It's tough to pick any wrestler from this fight because we didn't really see much of them fighting. We saw, like Milam, you said, Big E did well wrestling with the hurt knee, but I feel like we didn't get enough of the fight in general to really like say for sure. Which sucks. I hate when they do this. They did this at the Imperium versus Undisputed Era fight, how they were so focused on Pat McAfee and Adam Cole the whole time, we barely saw the fight. I'm torn between the two because John Morrison is such a great wrestler and such a great acrobat. Meanwhile, Big E has the charisma in the ring, and the performance ability to sell anything and give out any kind of hit really well. So with that all said, I'm still not changed on my stance, which my pick for Fighter of the Night is Grand Metalik. Is there a problem? Were you gonna pick Big E? You were gonna pick Big E, weren't you? Huh?
It was.
I mean, you still can. I would just like to know your reasoning.
What if I choose not to give you my reasoning?
Then, chat will probably still be on your side, but I'll just be mad about it.
No, my favorite of the night goes to Milam because he immediately called out my exact reaction to Sheamus's coat. Which, to be fair, I yelled about it for 5 minutes, and then I saw the tweet, and I was like, wow, he knows. I don't know. It's hard for me because, like, tonight was a really... I don't want to say bad night for fights and fighters, but it's hard because I like watching Big E. I think I probably did say last SmackDown that I was gonna get it tonight. Probably, I feel like I said that. I also say that about 5 different things every podcast. So
I mean, you said today that next time Big E will probably get promo of the night. So Big E's getting everything every night, even on Raw.
Because Big E has all of my heart. Probably 5 seconds away from getting bent by the cat again. She's rubbing her head against me. I made a face because I was petting her, and then she nuzzled her head into my hand so hard that it took me over into the sign. I was like,
real quick, Splucha said Big E should have gotten promo of the night. I would think that if the promo was focused on Big E, but the story surrounding that promo is not a very good one. I don't think the circumstances really warrant a really good promo. If it was just Big E and Big E's story, absolutely, like, no doubt. But because it seems like such a mess right now, I want to give it to the storyline that's kind of more, more focused.
I asked the cat what she wants.
More
Baby,
importantly, what do you want for Fighter of the Night?
Asking Peace what she wants. The tiebreaker. This is undecided. She's still saying Velveteen Dream. She's horrible.
Are you Big E?
I don't know. I feel like Grand Metalik was the only match that we actually got all of without interruption. But Big E just always does such a good job. He countered so many of John Morrison's moves.
Well, look, he may always do a good job, and I'm sure he did a good job today, but we barely saw any of it. Yeah, Big E will get it next week, like Splucha said.
Fine. Grand Metalik. But if Big E doesn't get it next week, I'm having problems. Also, Braun consume entrails promo of the night is correct.
Yeah. That was weird.
Yeah, he said that, and I was like...
That's why I think he is the Fiend. That is another reason why he should be. He's, like, off the rails right now. He's having an internal battle. And you know what? I just thought another way they could pull off the SummerSlam fight between Braun and The Fiend. It's done the same way that the John Cena versus The Fiend fight went. In, like, a incredibly dark room that basically seemed like it was inside the Firefly Funhouse. You can play it off as if it's an internal battle. But
every time the cat licks me, I'm just like bracing for impact. And she's just like, "No, I love you so much. I'm just gonna rub my head against you." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, fine." She walks around me and drinks some water because she was hungry.
The fight of the night.
It's not Braun versus Braun, then I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, sure.
That was not a fight today at all. I don't know what you're smoking.
Smoking the same thing the refs for the Mets were smoking today. Baseball reference.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, we still called some weird things today, I thought. No, we didn't watch the Mets game. We were watching the Yankees game. So weird.
You were watching the Yankees game. I was watching the Mets game.
Yeah, I had problems with it, though.
Anyway, the fight of the night. So, Battle Royale. It sucked. We didn't really get anybody fighting how they should have. Like, comparing it to the Battle Royale for the Intercontinental Championship, it was nothing like that. You had, like, 5 or 6 wrestlers eliminated immediately here. Immediately. Like, Liv and Ruby and the Iconics eliminated immediately. You had, Asuka show up out of nowhere and take the whole thing, making us wonder how was she going to fight 2 matches at SummerSlam? So it was not a very good fight. I'll say that. And then we had.
It would have been if it was longer. If it was the main event.
Yeah, it was weird.
It would have been.
It was weird to put it so early.
If it were the main event and it was allotted more time than it was, even if it was allotted the same amount of time and interaction that like the Battle Royale for the Intercontinental title was, it would have been more interesting. But then, what could have been a massive like kind of showdown between Asuka and Shayna, even if it was just at the end them spending the most time there, it would have been more interesting than I think we actually got.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that like it was the second thing that happened tonight, and we get somebody fighting apparently 2 matches at SummerSlam, it's like this should have been main event.
Yeah.
Why was this not main event? You know why it wasn't main event? I forgot. Because WWE hates female wrestlers. Anyways.
Oh, true. Except Charlotte Flair.
Except Charlotte Flair. But that's because Ric Flair is her father. But now that he's dead, she's also not here, so.
True. Anyway, so, fight of the night. Then after that, we had Sheamus versus Shorty, which was a very short match, over in, like, a snap. Shorty looked good. Sheamus looked, like I said, like he was taking out the trash. It seemed like very much a filler fight, one that we kind of know is going to happen. But it didn't have much.
Short match. It's fun.
And then we had Grand Metalik versus Shinsuke. Really good fight. The appearance by Kalisto really solidified this as like an awesome fight. It turned what would have been just like an average fight into, oh my god, Kalisto's here. It was awesome. Grand Metalik was also fantastic. Shinsuke was good. I do want to see better Shinsuke, but I might just not be sold on his fighting style yet. I think I need to kind of sit down more and really like look at it when I'm watching his matches. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match. And then after that, we had John Morrison versus Big E. We only saw like 5 minutes of this match. Actually, the fight only lasted about 13 minutes. Like the whole segment lasted 13 minutes. About 8 minutes of that was showing But Retribution and the other wrestlers and The Miz and Otis.
Yeah, no, actually it was more like 10 minutes because I remember it started and then once Retribution showed up it was about 9:49.
And then
Roundabouts.
don't forget there was a commercial break too.
I think the commercial breaks ended at 9:49.
Okay.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
So I think it's no shock what my pick is here. It's Grand Metalik versus Shinsuke.
Gotta be.
It's the fight that mattered, and it's the only fight that was really interesting to watch.
Can I say something though?
Yeah.
I agree with you entirely. I agree with you because it was a full match, no interference, nothing crazy or weird happening. And on top of that, it gave us Kalisto coming back, which was awesome. What has been annoying me recently is like there are so many times in NXT, in Raw, where you're going through all these and you're like, oh, I can't decide between X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z. And like, this is why I want to choose this one, but this is why I want to choose this one. And finally you come to your conclusion, but like you had to kind of go between a couple matches. It drives me insane that Smackdown constantly is like, I have to give it to this one because this is like literally the only obvious option.
Mm-hmm.
And like for Raw, I can almost be like, okay, well, Raw is 3 hours long. Of course, there's more options for like what could be the match of the night. But NXT is also 2 hours long. It somehow gives us less promos, admittedly, but also the same. I would rather just be like, well, the only promo I can really give it to is this because whatever. I'd much rather just be like, oh, I have to choose this promo and then have to like choose between like several matches.
Mm-hmm.
Much rather that. SmackDown is so promo heavy, and if they just cut down their promos just a little bit, just tiny,
And I mean,
a fraction, it would make every match slightly more interesting.
yeah,
I don't.
Today was bad because you had the Mandy promo followed by later on the Sonya promo. You could have combined the two into one. The Sheamus promo, I don't even know what happened with this. Oh, that was him basically telling the security they didn't have to watch. That was pointless.
I want to point out the fact that like Mark and I are both writers. Like I've written since I was in kindergarten. There are stories that I've written that were full stories. I can't read them now because they are in children's handwriting and they're like chicken scratch. We both understand the value of a story. And that's what hurts almost because it's like we've reached the point with SmackDown where it's like, I don't care about the story anymore, dudes. Just give me something to care about. Because even when they give us a story now, I'm like, like, whatever. The only story that I care about at this point, as far as SmackDown is concerned, is Braun, Bray, and Alexa. That's all I care about. Everything else at this point, I've lost so much interest in, like, between Nikki and Bayley and Sasha.
Retribution.
Like, I don't care about that. Huh?
Retribution
has been on for, I think, 3 episodes total now. Could not give less of a shit about that.
I care
maybe
about
4, actually.
Big E's story.
I do too, but they aren't giving us enough to care.
Yeah. And like
all I'm getting from Big E is like moving monologues from him, and that's great, and I love it because he's very good at that. But what else is there? Like, you can talk and you can fight. That's great. Combine it. They can't combine the things.
Yeah, like Splooch has said, because they rarely write compelling stories that reach cohesive conclusions, it's hard to get invested. Yeah, like we still have the Mandy Sonya feud happening, and it's been since April that story's been going on.
Can I also just say, there was a very easy way to make the Jeff Hardy car crash story something that I was interested in. And that was by being like, Jeff Hardy thinks that's Sheamus. Sheamus thinks that Jeff Hardy's just blaming him because he's an alcoholic and like he was definitely behind the wheel while drinking. And instead of just saying, oh, here's the hacker with some footage, I don't care who the hacker is. I know it was supposed to be Mustafa Ali. It's not anymore because he's on Raw. I don't care. I didn't care before. I don't care now. No one should care. The thing is that you easily could have been like, we still don't know who the hell the hacker is. But he's just given us this footage from backstage, like the cameras from like behind the performance center, in front of the performance center, wherever the crash happened. They could have been like, here's some weird footage that we found. And that guy doesn't look like or Sheamus running from the scene. And I would have been like, oh shit. And then it could have been a little murder mystery for Elias. And it would have been way more interesting than 14 episodes of SmackDown where Jeff Hardy's like, I'm a recovered alcoholic and Sheamus is trying to ruin my life. And Sheamus being like, you're just a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been so much better if they were like, I'm a recovered alcoholic. You're trying to ruin my life. And Sheamus was like, you're crazy. And then they were like, here's some footage. And they were like, oh no, somebody's trying to frame Jeff Hardy. Hey, Sheamus, you can still be mean to him. But Jeff Hardy, now it's not just Sheamus who's being mean to you. It would have made so much more sense. Oh my God. Every week was SmackDown. Every goddamn week was SmackDown.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please hit the follow button below.
Also, to Split it, yeah, they just dropped the hacker story because never revealed who it was. They never gave any. They never gave any like hint as to who it was, aside from like a couple of hints that like kind of pointed out CM Punk, kind of pointed out Mustafa. And then Mustafa was like, in the dark, I suddenly went over to Raw because screw SmackDown. They were like, well, we can never do the hacker story again because the person that was supposed to be the hacker is gone. It's like, you never told us who it was in the first place, so you could literally just make up anybody. You could say it's literally anyone. Especially considering the fact that they are still using hacker elements for the Mandy Sonia storyline. Guys,
So,
God forbid SmackDown does anything good.
follow us on Twitter at the Pinfall Cast. Follow our individual Twitters. I am at the Mark Cameron. Liz is at Eliza Elaine 23. Follow my personal Twitch, twitch.tv/Mark Cameron. And we'll be live again on Monday for Raw, where Liz hopefully won't have a breakdown.
I have things to say about Raw, and they're not bad things, actually.
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's one thing. I want to remind everyone Shawn Michaels is coming back. So if you want to hear me scream about that, tune in. Also, Rey Mysterio should be on Raw next week. Now, Rey Mysterio on Raw is vague enough as it is. It could just mean that he's video chatting. But he should be on Raw, quote unquote, according to a couple articles. So maybe we'll actually see him getting retribution. Absolutely no pun intended. For Dominic's lacerations, if you will. Yeah, if you know anybody who you want shouted out at the end of the month, whether it's you, whether it's a friend, whether it's your dog, we'll shout them out. Actually, if it is your dog, we will shout them out. Or cat, or hamster. Who's to say? And please, I know we are months away from it, like literal months away from it. Get excited for the Mike Romies. I'm excited for the Mike Romies.
It's not happening for another 4 months, but
so far away. Splooch is right. We are all going to inevitably turn into Braun after a certain point of watching WWE. But yeah, that's all I gotta. That's all I gotta throw out there for the evening. I'm done. I'm done talking.
again, join us Monday for Raw. If you enjoyed, hit follow. and the little notification bell. And we'll see you on Monday, again, for a third time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night.